Hey, it's Bethany from HBM046. Before we get started with this episode, I want to let you know that we actually have a live show coming up in October in Los Angeles. It's called Terrible Resonance. It's a show about infrasound, sound so deep that you can't even hear it. The show is on Sunday, October 18th in West Hollywood at the Cinefamily Silent Movie Theater. We're doing the show as part of a festival called Spectre Fest. Cinefamily calls Spectre Fest a place where unexpected elements and the fantastic gather together, offering cold shadows, distant melodies, forgotten memories, and new hauntings. Jeff Entman and I will be joined by Joe Morgan, who will put on another live infrasound demonstration. So buy your tickets and tell your friends. You can actually do both on our website, hbmpodcast.com/live. Terrible Resonance in Los Angeles is co-presented by SpectreVision and KCRW.
From the independent producer project of KCRW, this is Here Be Monsters.
We didn't have mirrors in our house that would allow me to see my whole self. So the only thing I knew was that my waistline was getting crooked and I was having trouble with my legs. They kept falling asleep if I sat down too long. So I fixed that by never sitting down too long. But the waistline, it was like, my skirts would hang crooked and my mom would try to fix it and then I'd say that feels weird. And so she took me to a few doctors who said it's her posture, she'll outgrow it. And she didn't believe them. She knew there was something more going on. She felt it in her gut, I guess, the way moms do.
Here Be Monsters, the podcast about
whatever music was playing on the radio.
The podcast about
the unknown.
My name is Karen, and I was born in New York City. Well, specifically in Queens. Queens is where I grew up, and it was nice. It was safe. It was like being in a small town. I lived in a co-op, which was built around a big courtyard, so all the kids could play in the courtyard, and so you could go out by yourself, and those days were different anyway. You could go lots of places by yourself and not have to worry about people freaking out. My dad was a businessman, an accountant, and my mom was a housewife. Very sweet and soft-spoken, but not a pushover. Not by any means. I guess what I didn't know or didn't appreciate, since I didn't know anything was wrong with me, was that Mom was crafting a very carefully structured world around me so that no one would say anything or do anything to me that indicated there was something wrong with me. I guess she was just trying to make my childhood as nice as possible. It was an impressive undertaking, given that everybody could clearly see there was something wrong with my back, which I didn't know, because the only mirror where I could see myself in the apartment was the mirror on the medicine cabinet. So for the first 7 or 8 years of my life, I only saw the top half of my face and then my face. We didn't have a full-length mirror, so I never knew what I looked like in a full-length mirror. So she made this world for me, and it was great. It was fabulous. I thought I was having the best childhood ever. Scoliosis is a lateral curvature of the spine. So that means your spine curves from side to side, either in an S shape or a C shape, and mine was more of an S, and it was pretty severe. I was diagnosed when I was in 5th grade. I guess I'd started my growth spurt, and so the curve was becoming more obvious. So I went to the hospital, and I had my first operation, and I was told that I'd have one operation, and then after a couple weeks they'd put me in a body cast, and then I would go home. Well, that one operation turned into 3, and the body cast turned into a halo and pins through my legs and traction, and basically 7 months in the hospital. I stayed in the halo until the fact that my head was moving became obvious, because I had long scars on my forehead, and one of the screws had been going into my skull. And then another screw on the other side had been coming out of my skull. So my head was only being held by like 3 of the 4 screws. So they took me out of that and put me in a different kind of body cast. The thing I remember about being in the hospital were the sounds that were specific to that place and the sounds that I missed from home. There weren't any airplanes. When you're bedridden, you kind of mark time through your day by the sounds that come at you. So there are the sirens at night that'll wake you up at random moments, and then at 6 a.m, you can hear the breakfast trays coming down the hall. The next sound you'd hear would be the nurses coming around to do their morning stuff and get us set up so we could take our little baths and stuff like that. And then it was just the operator on the PA, paging doctors all day long. And when I came home, there were all these sounds I remembered, but they were new because I'd been away for so long. I'd been away for almost 7 months, that it was like moving into a new place. And I had to get used to the planes all over again. My mother tried to set up my room like it was in the hospital. So there was the thermometer next to my bed and the little stupid blue water pitcher, and I made those go away as soon as possible. My mother got rid of everything in my room that was a symbol of my youthful abilities. My bicycle was gone, my hula hoop was gone, my roller skates were gone. Anything that I could possibly hurt myself with, in her mind, she had to get rid of, because she figured I'd never use them again. I didn't like that at all. That made things real in a way that I wasn't ready to accept. It was so hard to get me from one place to another. There were things I couldn't do, like I couldn't go to the dentist because I couldn't get in the dentist chair, and I couldn't go to the eye doctor because I couldn't get in the examining chair. So I didn't have any of that stuff done for almost 3 years. So my vision became so much worse over the 3 years, and my prescription didn't change. So it was hard to see anything. So I kind of had to rely more on my ears to figure out where I was and what was going on around me. And, you know, I could hear kids outside playing, and I couldn't do that. In the abstract, I thought, well, I'll get to do this again someday. But then I'd think, yeah, but by the time you're ready to go outside and play, we'll all be too old to play. So maybe that's kind of done for you. For Christmas that year, I got my very own transistor radio. So I had the ability to listen to whatever music I wanted to listen to, whatever music was playing on the radio, because it was only AM. It was not FM.
Right side.
So it was pop music and news, and that was it. Oh, wait, no, there was a station that would play, like, in two-hour blocks. It would play music from different countries around the world. That was kind of cool. So you get to hear music from all over the planet in crappy AM reception. But I listened to a lot of music on the radio because it was the easiest and fastest way to take myself out of myself and not have to think about the condition I was in. At night, I could pull in stations from Chicago and Indianapolis, and it was kind of spooky to hear voices coming from other parts of the country. It was so easy to just, all you had to do was be still and wait for the middle of the night, and all these voices would come to you and hear music from other places. It reassured me that there was a larger world out there and that maybe someday I would get to see it. All told, it was 2.5, 3 years of treatment. And by the time I got out of the last cast, they said, okay, you're done. You just need to exercise and you need to get on with your life. So I did. Kind of. So I still lived in my little bubble, this bubble that my mother had created when I was a little girl. She made sure that no one would ever talk to me about my back. I didn't actually have to confront the reality of me or my body or anything like that until I went back to school in 8th grade. Other kids started teasing me about the way I walked and the way I looked. And I didn't even know how to begin to deal with it because, honestly, part of me still believed that there was nothing wrong, that I was just fine. So that was hard. It was hard to go to school and have one kid call you Quasimodo every day. So I spent a couple of summers in my room, reading books, watching TV, and staring out the window at all the kids who were out in the courtyard 6 floors down. And I guess maybe that's when I first thought about jumping out that window. But then I thought better of it and thought, however I'm feeling, that's not going to make me feel better and it's going to make my mother feel worse, so I wouldn't want to do that. And I guess maybe my mother knew I had that feeling because as the second summer was drawing to a close where I spent all my time sitting in my room, one day she handed me subway tokens and a map and said, go out, come back in time for dinner, go to a museum, go to a park, go find something to do, go somewhere. There she was saying, look, go find your life. It's not here. And I think as much as she wanted my life to be there so that she could have me near her, I think she realized that it was better for me that I go. So I went.
Karen Smith was born with a spinal condition called spina bifida, which caused her scoliosis. Karen now lives in Los Angeles and works in film and theater production. On our website, we have some really beautiful pictures of Karen growing up in the 60s, being a baby and skipping rope and holding a dog and wearing giant earmuffs in the snow. You can find those at HBM046.com. While you're there, on our website, you can also find details about our upcoming live show in Los Angeles. Just click on the black banner at the top of any page, or go to hbmpodcast.com/live. This episode of Here Be Monsters was produced by Garrett Tiedemann. Garrett produces a podcast called The White Whale. He's also a filmmaker, a journalist, and a composer. He made all the music on this episode. We have a link to Garrett's work on our website, which is hbmpodcast.com. This episode of Here Be Monsters was edited by me, Bethany Denton, with help from Jeff Entman and Nick White, our editor at KCRW. We love hearing from you, especially if you have a good story for us like Garrett did. He sent us a pitch through our contact page. If you'd like to help us out, the best thing that you can do is leave us a nice review on iTunes and let the world know what you think. Here Be Monsters is part of the independent producer project of KCRW. Thanks for listening. More episodes soon.